All right, welcome back, everyone. So I know a lot of you out there, you're thinking big, right? Like millionaire before 30, kind of big. And honestly, who wouldn't want to hit that milestone? So we dug into this Brainlift 7 podcast episode. They claim to have the whole roadmap figured out, get you there in just 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years. That's a pretty aggressive timeline.
Right. But what I found interesting, like right off the bat, is how much they emphasized mindset. Like, it's not just about the tactics, it's about your whole attitude towards money.
It's true. They even have a name for it, the Millionaire Mindset. Basically, it's believing you can actually pull this off, ditching that whole scarcity mentality a lot of us kind of grow up with, and getting comfortable with this idea of delayed gratification.
Okay, yeah, that delayed gratification part, that one hit home for me. It's like classic marshmallow test in action, choosing the long-term gain over the instant satisfaction.
Exactly.
Like Brainlift 7 uses this example, skipping your daily latte to invest that money instead. Sounds simple on paper, but come on, how many of us are actually doing that?
Well, that's where the whole growth mindset thing comes in. And Brainlift 7 makes this connection between growth mindset and delayed gratification. Basically, it's believing that you can actually develop your abilities through hard work and learning. And studies show that people with this mindset, they're more likely to, embrace challenges, persist through setbacks, and ultimately achieve greater success. And get this, learning to delay gratification. It's a skill. It can be developed, just like any other skill.
So it's like a muscle, the more you work it, the stronger it gets.
Yeah, exactly.
The more you practice delaying gratification, the easier it becomes.
Yeah. And it makes sense, right? When you think about investing, you're delaying spending today so you can reap the rewards later.
Yeah.
And that power of compounding, those small, consistent choices, they snowball over time. Brainlift 7 goes into some specific strategies for putting this into practice. Setting clear financial goals, automating your savings, and finding ways to actually make saving feel rewarding instead of restrictive.
I like that, because I think for a lot of people, saving just feels like deprivation. But Brainlift 7 is saying it's more about making conscious choices that align with your long-term goals.
Right, aligning your actions with your goals.
Okay, so we've got this mindset piece. But Brainlift 7 doesn't stop there. They also put a huge emphasis on developing high-income skills.
Yeah, and they actually break down the top 5 skills that they believe are crucial for hitting that $1 million mark. And these aren't just random skills they pulled out of a hat. These are areas with proven earning potential, strong growth in the current job market.
Right. We're not talking about underwater basket weaving here.
Not that there's anything wrong with underwater basket moving. But Brainlift 7 focuses on things like sales and persuasion, investing in financial literacy, marketing, tech and AI skills, and then networking and communication.
Okay. It's interesting they include networking and communication in there. I feel like it highlights how important it is to build relationships, be able to effectively convey your ideas and your value to other people.
Absolutely, because it's not always just about what you know, right? It's about who you know and how well you can connect with them. Especially in today's world, building a strong network can open doors to opportunities you wouldn't have found otherwise. Mentorships, partnerships, collaborations, even just expanding your knowledge base by talking to people in different fields. And the good news is, like any skill, networking, it can be learned and improved over time.
I love that. It's like you don't have to be born a smooth talking networker. You can actually develop those skills with practice. And I think Brainlift 7 even has a whole episode dedicated to networking strategies, right?
Yeah, they do. It could be a whole other deep dive.
Totally. Okay, so they're saying, build the skills, get the mindset right, and then Brainlift 7 argues once you have those high income skills, then you apply their what they call the millionaire formula.
Yes, the millionaire formula. That's the heart of their strategy.
So, okay, break it down for us. What is this millionaire formula?
All right, it's 3 key steps. Earn more, save and invest aggressively, and then scale and automate. Sounds simple enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, on the surface it does, but I have a feeling there's a lot more to each of those steps than meets the eye. Is it really that simple?
Well, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? Brainlift 7 makes it sound deceptively easy, but each of those steps, they have their own complexities and nuances. And I think that's where we can really add value today by kind of diving deeper and exploring the practical realities of actually putting this formula into action.
Right, because earn more might sound obvious, but increasing your income, that often requires some serious effort, some strategic planning. Yeah, it's not like money just magically appears in your bank account, right? Like, I'm rich. So Brainlift 7, they do touch on a few different approaches, like getting higher paying jobs, starting a side hustle, or even like building out multiple income streams. But honestly, those are all easier said than done.
Oh, for sure. And I think it's important to acknowledge, like, not everyone has the same opportunities, the same resources when it comes to boosting their income. Some people might be limited by where they live, their skill set right now, even family stuff, obligations. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of solution. It's more about exploring different options, figuring out what works for your specific situation.
Okay. Yeah, I like that because it recognizes that there's no like single right way to earn more. It's more about being like resourceful, being creative, using your strengths to create those opportunities. So I'm curious for our listener out there who's, specifically shooting for that millionaire status before 30, which of these earn more strategies do you think is like the most crucial in those early years?
That's a good question. I think it really depends on, where the listener is starting from, how much risk they're comfortable with. But if we're talking about really maximizing earning potential in a relatively short time frame, I'd say focusing on building those high-income skills we talked about and then leveraging those skills to either, land a really well-paying job or launch a side hustle that takes off, that's going to be key.
Yeah, it makes sense because even if you're amazing at saving and investing, if you're not bringing in enough income to begin with, hitting that $1 million goal, it's going to be way, way harder. Now, Brainlift 7, they're big on side hustles, especially in those early years when you might have more time, more flexibility. What are some of the ideas they throw out there?
They have a pretty wide range, actually. Everything from freelancing in your area of expertise, e-commerce, real estate investing, creating and selling online courses, even like offering coaching or consulting services. The big thing they emphasize is find something that aligns with, your skills, your interests, ideally something you're passionate about, so it doesn't feel like a chore.
I love that because I think so many people get caught up in chasing like the hottest side hustle, the one that promises to make you rich quick, but then they burn out, they lose interest because it's not something they actually enjoy. And Brainlift 7 even talks about this idea of validating your side hustle idea before you go all in, right?
Oh yeah, validation, that's huge.
Like actually testing the market, getting feedback, making sure there's real demand for what you're offering. I feel like that's a step a lot of people skip.
Yeah, so important, right? You don't want to pour your heart and soul into something only to find out later nobody actually wants to buy it.
Yeah.
And it actually speaks to a bigger point that Brainlift 7 makes, this idea of approaching your finances and really any ambitious goal with this mindset of experimentation and continuous learning. Like being willing to try new things, adapt based on feedback, constantly iterate and improve.
Yeah, it's like embrace the journey, not just the destination. Okay, so let's say our listener, they're on board with this earn more step. They're exploring side hustles, maybe looking for ways to, level up in their current career. Then Brainlift 7 jumps into the next part of their formula, which is save and invest aggressively. And I got to be honest, that phrase kind of makes me nervous. It sounds intense.
I hear you. It's definitely got like a certain intensity to it. But I think it's important to understand what they mean by aggressively in this context. It's not about taking crazy risks or gambling your money away. It's more about being really intentional and disciplined with your savings and investments, maximizing that power of compounding over time.
So it's more about being proactive, growth-oriented, instead of just letting your money sit in a savings account.
Yeah, exactly. Brainlift 7 actually lays out quite a few strategies for saving and investing aggressively. Things like automating your savings so you're consistently putting money aside, exploring different investment vehicles that match your risk tolerance, your time horizon, even seeking out ways to boost your investment returns, things like tax-advantaged accounts or index funds.
Okay, that's super helpful. Because I think investing can feel really intimidating for a lot of people. But Brainlift 7 breaks it down in a way that makes it feel like more accessible, even kind of exciting. It's like they're giving you the tools to take control of your financial future instead of feeling like it's all out of your hands.
It's about empowerment, right? Educating yourself about the options, making informed decisions based on your goals, your circumstances. And they even recommend, maybe talking to a financial advisor if you need help navigating all the complexities.
Right. Sometimes you need that expert guidance. Okay, so the final step in their millionaire formula is scale and automate. And I'll admit, this one feels the most, abstract to me. What exactly are they talking about here?
Yeah, this is definitely the step that requires the most long-term vision, strategic thinking. Essentially, they're talking about building systems and processes that generate income and wealth even when you're not actively working. It's about passive income, leveraging technology, and freeing up your time so you can focus on bigger picture stuff.
So it's like moving beyond just trading your time for money and creating a system that works for you even while you sleep.
Exactly. They use this analogy like building a business that can run without your constant involvement, or investing in assets that generate that passive income, things like rental properties or dividend-paying stocks.
I mean, that's a powerful concept, right? Because it shifts the focus from working harder to working smarter, creating a system that allows your money to work for you instead of the other way around. But I imagine this step, it also requires, some financial literacy, a willingness to get a little uncomfortable, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's not for the faint of heart. It takes time, effort to implement, especially in those early years when you're still building your skills, your foundation. But even small steps in that direction, consistently, they can have a huge impact over time. It could be something as simple as setting up automatic bill pay or creating a system for tracking your expenses. It's about starting to think about how you can streamline your finances, create more leverage in your life.
Yeah, I like that. It highlights how important it is to build good financial habits early on, even if you're not ready to launch a full-blown business or invest in real estate. Okay, so BrainLift 7 presents this millionaire formula. It's the path to success, but they're also very honest about potential pitfalls, mistakes that can derail your whole journey.
Yeah, they actually dedicate a whole episode to the biggest mistakes to avoid on this quest to become a millionaire. And what's interesting is a lot of these mistakes, they're not like complex financial blunders. They're more like common psychological traps, behavioral patterns. They can sabotage even the best laid plans.
Okay, what? Spill the tea. What kind of traps are we talking about?
Well, one of the big ones they highlight is relying on just one source of income. You're putting all your eggs in one basket, which makes you super vulnerable if that income stream dries up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially these days, job security, it's not what it used to be. And it goes back to what we were saying earlier about building multiple income streams, whether it's through side hustles, investments, even developing a skill set that you can use in different ways.
Exactly. Diversifying your income, it's like a safety net, but it also creates more opportunities for growth,
Yeah, totally. BrainLift 7 also talks about the danger of living paycheck to paycheck, which, let's be real, it's a reality for a lot of people. It's that constant cycle. You earn just enough to cover your bills, no room for savings or investments, super stressful. And it makes it almost impossible to build any real wealth.
It's a tough cycle to break out of, especially if you don't have the right financial tools, the right mindset. BrainLift 7 emphasizes creating a budget, tracking your expenses, finding ways to cut back on unnecessary spending. Got to create some breathing room in your finances.
And they recommend building an emergency fund, right? So you have that cushion to fall back on if something unexpected happens. And let's face it, life throws curveballs.
Oh, for sure. An emergency fund, it's not just about financial security. It's about reducing stress and anxiety. You know you've got a buffer. You can handle those unexpected expenses without going into debt.
And speaking of debt, BrainLift 7, they don't sugarcoat the dangers of high-interest debt, like credit cards. They call it a wealth killer. Cause those high interest rates that can really eat away at your earnings, make it so much harder to get ahead.
Yeah, it's like this silent thief, slowly draining your resources. BrainLift 7 says prioritize paying down that high-interest debt as quickly as possible. Could be through, the debt snowball method or even just negotiating lower interest rates with your creditors.
And of course, they also emphasize investing early and consistently.
Yeah.
It's that power of compounding thing. Again, the earlier you start, the more time your money has to grow exponentially.
Exactly. They even suggest looking into a Roth IRA if you're eligible because your earnings grow tax-free. That can make a huge difference in the long run.
And it's interesting, they frame investing not just as a way to build wealth, but also a way to combat inflation. Because if your money's not going faster than inflation, you're losing purchasing power over time. So true. It's not enough to just save. You got to make sure your money is working for you, growing at a rate that keeps up with, or ideally beats inflation. Otherwise, your savings are slowly losing value. BrainLift 7 also talks about the people you surround yourself with. They have this line, I love it. It's like, if your friends don't talk about growth, business, or investing, you're in the wrong circle. Might sound a bit harsh, but I get the point.
It's about being mindful of your environment, realizing that the people around you, they can have a big impact on your mindset, your actions.
Yeah, because if you're hanging out with people who are content with, just getting by, afraid to take risks, or maybe they don't even believe in your dreams, it's going to be that much harder to break free from those limitations, reach your full potential.
It's not about judging your friends or ditching them, but it's about recognizing the importance of seeking out relationships with people who inspire you, challenge you to grow, who share your values and aspirations.
I think Brainlift 7 actually has an entire episode about mentorship, finding people who are ahead of you on the path you want to take.
Yeah, mentorship is huge. Having those mentors, those role models, they can offer guidance, support, and accountability as you navigate your own journey. It's like having a roadmap and a compass to keep you on track.
All right, so we've got the mindset piece, the millionaire formula, and the big mistakes to avoid. But now let's get to the part I know our listener has been waiting for. The actual path to becoming a millionaire before 30, the 5-year roadmap. Brainlift 7 lays out this year-by-year plan that honestly sounds pretty ambitious, maybe even a little daunting.
It's definitely bold, requires a lot of commitment, consistent effort, but they do break it down into smaller steps, which I think makes it feel less overwhelming, more achievable.
Okay, so let's dive into that roadmap. Year 1, Brainlift 7 says it's all about laying the foundation.
Exactly. It's about investing in yourself, building those high-income skills, and starting to create a solid financial base.
So it's like the prep work before the big game. You're training, honing your skills, getting your mind and body ready for the challenges ahead. What are some specific things they recommend doing during this first year?
Well, first, they say it's about figuring out your strengths, your passions, and finding ways to use them to create opportunities that actually bring in income.
So figuring out what you're good at, what you enjoy, and then finding a way to turn those passions into profits.
Yeah, exactly. And that could be through a career in a high-paying field, starting a side hustle that you're excited about, or even just finding creative ways to monetize your hobbies, your existing skills.
And they also talk about developing a strong work ethic, that growth mindset we talked about earlier.
Right, because building wealth, especially on an accelerated timeline, it takes discipline, resilience, a willingness to learn and adapt.
So being willing to put in the work, embrace challenges, not be afraid to step outside your comfort zone.
Exactly. They even encourage finding mentors, role models, people who can offer guidance as you navigate those early stages.
Okay, so year 1, laying the groundwork, building skills, getting the mindset right, and starting to bring in some income. What about year 2? How does that look?
Year 2, things start to ramp up. They call the acceleration phase. You shift from laying the foundation to actively building momentum towards your goal.
Okay, so shifting gears from 1st to 5th, what kind of acceleration are we talking about?
Well, they say by year 2, you should have a solid understanding of your field, your side hustle, and be bringing in consistent income.
So it's not just dabbling anymore, it's about taking things to the next level, starting to see some real results.
Exactly. They encourage setting ambitious income goals for this year, whether it's through, earning more in your main job, scaling your side hustle, or even launching a second or third income stream.
So building on that year 1 foundation, really starting to increase your earning power. What about the saving and investing piece? How does that fit into year 2?
They really stress the importance of continuing to save and invest aggressively during this phase. They suggest aiming to save and invest at least 50% of your income during year 2, which I know might sound like a lot.
It's definitely a big chunk of change, yeah, especially if you're not used to saving that much.
Uh-huh.
But I guess if you're trying to accelerate your wealth building, it makes sense. Any strategies for actually reaching that high savings rate?
Yeah, they have a few. Tracking your expenses closely, identifying areas where you can cut back, and automating your savings. So a portion of your income is automatically going into savings or investment accounts each month.
I like that automation idea. It takes the decision-making out of it. Yeah. You're paying yourself first before you even have a chance to spend the money. What about investing? Do they recommend any specific strategies for year 2?
They still encourage a diversified approach, but they suggest shifting towards slightly more aggressive investment options as long as your risk tolerance allows for it.
So finding that balance between risk and reward based on your comfort level and your goals.
Exactly. They talk about exploring different asset classes like stocks, bonds, real estate, understanding how to adjust your portfolio as your financial situation, your goals, they evolve.
Okay, so year 2, it's about taking those initial wins from year 1 and amplifying them, both in terms of income and smart investing. So what about year 3? What happens then?
Year 3, they bring in this concept of leverage and optimization. Their argument is, by this point, you should have multiple income streams going, a solid investment portfolio, and a clear understanding of what's working, what needs tweaking.
Okay, so taking stock of your progress, figuring out how to optimize your efforts for maximum impact. What kind of leverage are we talking about specifically?
They encourage exploring different forms of leverage. Could be business partnerships, using technology to automate tasks, even hiring a team to help you scale your operations.
So working smarter, not just harder, finding ways to amplify your efforts without burning yourself out.
Exactly. They talk about delegating, learning to outsource tasks that aren't your strengths, and focusing your energy on the things that generate the highest return on investment.
Yeah, it's that 80-20 principle, right? Figure out the 20% of your efforts that produce 80% of the results and then focus on maximizing those.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's also recognizing that as you scale your income, your investments, you might need to adjust your financial strategies, maybe even get some expert advice. Make sure you're making the most of your resources.
They even recommend considering hiring a financial advisor or tax professional during this phase, especially as your financial situation gets more complex. It's like building a team of experts to help you navigate all the new challenges and opportunities.
Right. You don't have to do it all alone. Seeking out support and guidance from people who have expertise in areas where you might be lacking, it can be really valuable.
All right, year 3, leverage, optimization, building a team to support your growth. On to year 4, what's on the agenda?
Year 4, they shift the focus to expansion and diversification. By now, you should have a solid financial foundation, those multiple income streams, and a good understanding of what you're good at, what you're not so good at.
So taking everything you've learned, everything you've achieved, and expanding your horizons, both in terms of income and investment strategies.
It's exactly exploring new business opportunities, expanding into new markets, even diversifying your investments into different asset classes.
So not just resting on your laurels, but continuing to push yourself, explore new possibilities, find creative ways to grow your wealth.
Yes, staying ahead of the curve, identifying emerging trends, being willing to adapt as the market changes.
It's that classic entrepreneurial mindset, always looking for the next opportunity, not being afraid to take calculated risks.
And recognizing that diversification is key for long-term stability. Spreading your investments, your income streams, it helps mitigate risk, protect your wealth, even if one particular investment or business venture doesn't pan out.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. And Brainlift 7, they even suggest looking into international investment opportunities or alternative investments like precious metals, cryptocurrencies.
Okay, so year 4, expanding your horizons, taking those calculated risks, building a diversified, resilient portfolio. All right, bring us home. Year 5, the final year in this quest to become a millionaire before 30. What's the grand finale?
Year 5, it's all about consolidation and legacy building. They argue that by this point, you should be well on your way to hitting that $1 million target. And it's time to start thinking about long-term wealth preservation, building a lasting legacy.
So shifting from accumulating wealth to preserving it, making sure it's protected, can be passed on.
Exactly. They encourage revisiting your financial plan, reassessing your risk tolerance, making any necessary adjustments to align your investments with your long-term goals.
And estate planning, right? Making sure your assets are distributed according to your wishes, that your loved ones are taken care of.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of people avoid thinking about that stuff, but it's crucial, especially as your wealth grows.
Definitely. Brainlift 7 also encourages exploring philanthropy during this final year, finding ways to give back to your community, make a positive impact.
Right. It's like realizing that true wealth isn't just about money. It's about using your resources to make a difference, leave a lasting legacy.
I love that. It shifts the focus from just personal gain to something much bigger, more meaningful.
And it speaks to a theme that runs through this whole roadmap. It's not just about becoming a millionaire. It's about using that financial success as a platform for personal growth, contribution, making a positive impact on the world.
It's inspiring, right? It reframes the whole idea of building wealth. It's not just about accumulating money. It's about enriching your life and the lives of others. So, okay, we've walked through Brainlift 7's whole plan, the mindset shifts, the skills, that intense 5-year roadmap. It's a lot to absorb, but it's all geared towards this very specific goal, hitting millionaire status by 30. What I'm wondering is, what if someone's timeline is different? Or maybe their definition of success isn't all about the money.
That's a really good point. Brainlift 7, they're laser focused on this one particular outcome. But not everyone's driven by that same ambition, right? Some people, they prioritize purpose, impact, maybe just loving what they do every day. That matters more to them.
Exactly. Like, what if your passion is teaching or social work, something that's not exactly known for those huge salaries? Does that mean financial success is automatically out of the question? I feel like Brainlift 7 kind of skips over that whole conversation.
Yeah, they kind of do. And that's where I think we can bring in a different perspective. Brainlift 7 assumes everyone's playing by the same rules, for the same finish line. But what if your definition of success is different? What if it's about financial independence, not necessarily $1 million?
I love that reframing. So instead of fixating on a number, it's about aligning your finances with your values, with how you want to live your life.
Right. It might mean paying off debt, building that emergency fund, having the freedom to travel, or just being able to pursue your passions without constantly stressing about money. Financial success becomes more personal, more about what matters to you.
So even if someone isn't set on becoming a millionaire by a certain age, the underlying principles from Brainlift 7 can still be helpful, right? Like it's about adapting those tools, the mindset, the skills to fit your own goals.
Oh, absolutely. And here's where things get interesting. Even if your passion isn't in a traditional high-income field, there might be ways to leverage it that do generate significant income. Brainlift 7 doesn't really explore this, but think about it.
You could build an online business, create courses, offer coaching, write a book. There are so many possibilities with technology these days.
Exactly. Technology has changed everything. It's not just about climbing the corporate ladder anymore. You can create your own opportunities, build your own platform, reach a global audience, all with your unique skills and passions.
Yeah, Brainlift 7 does mention side hustles, but they frame it more as a stepping stone, not necessarily a viable path on its own.
And I think we can offer a broader view there. For some people, that side hustle, it blossoms into a fulfilling, lucrative career, one that aligns with what they truly love to do.
So it's not always about abandoning your passion to chase a paycheck. It's about finding that sweet spot where your passions and your financial goals can coexist.
Right. It takes some experimenting, some trial and error, but it's definitely possible to build a life that is both financially successful and personally fulfilling. You don't have to compromise.
That's such an empowering message, right? You don't have to choose between your heart and financial security. You can have both.
I think it's a crucial takeaway for our listener. Brainlift 7 offers a very specific roadmap, but the underlying principles are much more adaptable.
It's about taking those core ideas, the mindset, the skills, smart financial habits, and tailoring them to your own vision of success.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes this whole conversation so exciting. It's not about following a formula blindly. It's about taking inspiration, learning from others, and then creating your own unique path to a life that is both financially abundant and fulfilling.
Well said. It's like we took this Brainlift 7 episode and turned it into a springboard for a bigger conversation about success, purpose, and designing a life that truly reflects what you value.
And that's what a deep dive is all about, isn't it? It's not just about summarizing. It's about exploring, questioning, and giving our listeners the tools to think critically and make the best decisions for themselves.
Couldn't agree more. So even though Brainlift 7 might sound like a very specific plan for a very specific goal, we've seen how those core principles can be applied much more broadly.
Yeah, it's been a great discussion. Hopefully our listener is leaving feeling inspired, ready to take action, create their own version of success.
I think so too. And remember, becoming a millionaire by 30, that's a fantastic goal. But it's not the only measure of success. What truly matters is finding goals that resonate with you, working towards them consistently, and enjoying the journey along the way.
Because ultimately, it's not just about the destination, right? It's about who you become along the way.
Well said. It's about the growth, the lessons learned, the experiences you have. It's about using your success, whatever that looks like for you, to create a life that is both meaningful and fulfilling. And on that note, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this deep dive. What resonated with you? Hit us up on social media. Let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep diving deep, keep exploring, and keep reaching for those goals.